just go on the guide.
Alright, we'll get started here. People are mostly settled in. So, this is on the 2027 SystemCore alpha testing. We got accepted into the program over the summer along with CIS, I believe, in Minnesota. And so we'll go over kind of our experiences, what SystemCore is. So I'm Caleb. This is my third year as the programming captain on Team 2052. It's also my fourth year on the team, and I am a senior at Irondale High School.
I'm Kevin. I am the build captain for Team 2052 KnightKrawler, and this is my third year as build captain. I've been in FRC for 5 years. Be here to answer any questions on the build side.
So kind of an overview of what we'll go over today. We will go over what is SystemCore, how we set it up, what our testing was, some final thoughts, and we'll have some time for Q&A. First up, what is SystemCore? Who here has heard of SystemCore? On a scale of 1 to 5, how much do you know about it? Hold it on your hand. All right, we got a bunch of 5s, a couple 4s, 1s, and 2s. All right. So this is a little picture of what SystemCore is proposed to look like. This will be the new robot controller that's coming in 2027. It will replace the RoboRIO for that season. It is also intended to work for XC. It has a couple features that I'll go over that aid in that effect. It is made by Limelight, powered by a CM5 chip by the Raspberry Pi, and it's actually decently smaller than the RoboRIO. It's about half the size, I'd say, horizontally. Here's a photo kind of on the inside of the SystemCore. Credit to Team 3015 for getting that for us. But it has a quad-core processor, 4 gigabytes of RAM, has its own Wi-Fi cards, 4x the amount of disk space compared to the Rio. It's got 16 gigabytes. 5 CAN buses, that's a big one. 5 Smart I/O, which are either can be configured to digital input/output or analog. And then it also, interestingly enough, has a separate I/O microcontroller to take care of that lower level sensor input so that your CPU doesn't have to get as much load on it for pulling those sensors. It also notably has a different I2C port compared to the Rio, so if you use that, there's some adaptations you need to have. And lastly, it has a built-in IMU, or gyroscope, and that will let you have your gyro data just built in. It also does not have an MXP port, so if you have those NavXs that plug in through the top of the Rio, those don't work anymore with this. So you would need something like a Pigeon where you connect it over CAN. So kind of on the software side, there is a robot.local GUI that you can SSH into. It has a nice control panel. If you're familiar with Limelight, you can SSH into those Limelights and you have your own configuration page. This is pretty similar. You have a performance tab, some widgets, and overall configuration. It supports Elastic directly on it, so I have a little screenshot there. That's that Elastic logo. You can click on that and it opens up in your Chrome tabs little network tables connected to Elastic, and you can have that up on your driver station. Also has Advantage Scope Lite, which is made by 6328. They created kind of a simpler version. It has most of the same features where you can have your telemetry up, same as Elastic. It also supports being able to program on through that SSH. You can use VS Code and Blockly, which is kind of, it's like Scratch. Blockly is more targeted towards FTC, but I mean, you could probably try and use it for some simpler FRC robots. So the WPI team had some goals for SystemCore software on the software side. The alpha testing was actually more for focusing on hardware, kind of those issues, figuring out where it could be easier. But for on the software side, some of their goals are to make the technology more approachable to newer teams, and their main goal is to raise the floor and not lower the ceiling. So those beginner teams that aren't ready for those more complex tasks will hopefully have an easier time coming with the SystemCore release and the new softwares. But those experts that really want to dive in and have that full control will be enabled to have that full control. And that's presented in several different things. You can look it up on the SystemCore GitHub, and there's also some 2027 WPI alpha changes that aren't actually implemented yet. They will be kind of breaking, but there's pretty cool things. Like there's this one thing called op modes where you can create your own teleoperated periods. So you don't just have one teleop, you can select different ones. It's kind of interesting, different use cases for that. And then the final point is they want all languages to have equal features. So C++ and Java, I'm not sure if they're going to continue supporting LabVIEW or not. I'd have to check on that. So moving on from what is SystemCore, I mean, is there any quick questions on kind of what it is originally?
Did you see any mention of supporting Python in the future?
I believe it will support Python. So moving on to some of our setup. The alpha testing goals were to maximize swerve drive time, really, because they hadn't been able to test that. Some of you saw they actually had it on a kitbot pretty early in the season when we first got a glimpse at this. And they wanted to gather feedback on the reliability of the hardware itself. So there's the ease of use of the connectors, the ports, programming isn't as involved in this testing. And they just wanted to eliminate confusion as they could. So a lot of the operating system, WPI lib vendor deps, they don't have all of their features that they will have in 2027 and all of the breaking changes. There's changes to rotation 2D that may break some other setups. Just to be aware of that. It's not fully at that software point yet. So first, when we first got it, actually hold on, I'll go back. That's the unit we got. It's a photo of a different unit, but we got the same unit. It just had a black 3D printed cover. The real cover will be like that first picture with all of the screen printed labels. We had to label it ourselves. But it has a little screen for some like CAN diagnostics and boot up sequences, can show some error messages. You got your 5 CAN ports on the top right, the Smart I/O on bottom left, 4 USB, and your Ethernet power. So first we had to connect it over the USB-C to flash it. We used a Limelight hardware manager, so it's pretty simple. You just keep it on your laptop, download the firmware. You don't have to do any of the get the SD card out, find the reader, use Balena Etcher. That was always a pain. Probably my least favorite part every year. But this made it a lot easier. It's just hit a button, upload a file, and flash. After that, we actually put it onto our 2025 robot Mayfly. This was because we wanted to test it with like a full range of features, full robot. Some teams put it on just a test board or a swerve chassis. We wanted to get right into full mechanisms and really stress test this. So we actually still used our Carnivore, even though it had five CAN networks. We had a RIO network and a Carnivore network, which I'll go over what's in each of those. But we kept using it just as an ease of porting code over. It was really just updating from 2025 to 2026 WPI lib. Most of the code stayed the same, and there's just some vendor dep changes. We were fully wired in 10 to 20 minutes, and that included labeling connections. It was pretty slick. So more into what is on the CAN. So our Carnivore had a swerve, elevator, and climber, kind of those belly pan things. And then our SystemCore loop had an elevator carriage and ground intake. We chose that in season because the elevator carriage and ground intake were more likely to get smashed and break, and we wanted to keep our swerve working in case if we did get smashed and break. But we will look into moving more things across the separate CAN networks to test performance, but performance is still pretty good. kind of went over this already. We ported over that code to 2027. It's really easy if you've ever ported code over from year to year. It's pretty much the same. Updating the firmware using CTRE, and the SystemCore has the ability for you to upload an IPK, and that lets it support things like the Canavor pretty easily. And that was pretty much our setup. So any questions on that setup bit?
I have a general question.
Yeah.
Are the connection points, are they positive reinforced? Like you can't flip out like the RIO does on those IOs? Like they have retention?
Oh yeah, it's like the Molex SL clips. So it has the little clip thing. You can also just use regular like 3-point connectors or whatever.
Cool.
They just have a pin, but they do have a small latch.
That was majorly needed.
Actually, on that too, they are thinking about changing those CAN push connectors to the same, Molex SL or something. But that's still in the works if they're actually going to do that or not. So for our actual testing, one of the first things we had to fix was our beam breaks. Notably, the I/O signal pins on the SystemCore have a pull-down resistor, which is different from the RoboRIO. We've been running these photoelectric sensors that only work in the pull-up configuration, how we wired them. And to fix this, we had to put on our own weak pull-up resistor. There's kind of a diagram there that Kevin had drawn. So this kind of works a little bit to avoid that pull-down problem, but it's kind of janky, and eventually we realized we could switch to using analog instead of digital. And so that ended up working if you ever use these types of beam breaks. But we originally had some concerns about the speed of analog versus digital, but it was pretty fast either way, and our robot function still worked.
Kind of small, right? Well,
But it was maybe a little bit slower from some of our later testing, but actually some of those problems will be alleviated by this little adapter board that they sent us. We actually got these just this past week. They you plug the SystemCore on one side and your sensor on the other, and it changes it to behave more like the RoboRIO. That will actually be a revision for the full release. They won't have that pull-down resistor. It'll be a pull-up configuration. They might make it configurable so you can choose between which one you want. But this is just kind of a temporary solution for us for now. Our CAN experiences, we had some troubles with this. We had our own driver practice and we also did MRI and RISE. Our CAN buses kept going down on the SystemCore. Our Canavor loop was fine, but we would have to power cycle like every 5 to 10 minutes. It was kind of erratic. Sometimes we thought it was maybe because we hit something, and other times it was maybe because we thought we had a loose wire or something jumping. But fix after fix, it just kept coming back.
So you mentioned that you had 2 things on CAN bus on the RoboRIO currently?
Correct.
And you didn't split those out when you...
No, it just was one loop going from the SystemCore through the carriage to the intake. So at MRI, to fix this, because we were in a competition and we were prioritizing having new students get some drive time, we moved everything to the Canavor, and we didn't experience any further drops. So that kind of eliminated, or almost fully eliminated, the idea that it was a wiring issue, because we ran it for multiple matches afterwards, heavy matches. But aside from that, there was really low robot loop times. We dropped from like 15 to 22 millisecond loop times down to 6. It's a lot faster. And we don't really do any optimization of loop times. So we didn't really see any overruns. It was really good.
Were you doing vision on that too at 22 milliseconds and drop to 6?
We were running our limelights, and so yeah, it's doing that low loop time with the odometry, combining all the data together, and that part's sped up.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, we have 2 limelights plus the odometry data all being combined, and it dropped down. So we're gonna test this further, see how the loop times go, and also splitting those CAN networks out. That's a goal of mine. See how we can debug that further, and also talk with SystemCore teams.
So did you see problems with CAN buses going down in testing otherwise, or was it just during MRI?
Well, so driver practice leading up to this, when we were training some of the new members, we experienced it kind of hindered our practice time.
Okay.
But we had thought we fixed it a different way, and it turned out it just kept coming back. So it's still really, it was weird behavior, and we're trying to get that fixed and learn. We haven't, I've done some, like, looking into what other teams have experienced, and they haven't, so it might be just our unit, perhaps, but we'll see. So here's some testing on thermals that Team 6328 did. It was a really nice graph, so I thought I'd include it. So the back is actually metal, so it acts as a heat sink. So mounting surface, as you can see here, matters quite a bit. They tried it on wood, staying around 65 Celsius, but then as soon as you put it on aluminum, it drops 20 degrees.
Do they have a preferred temperature to be at? Do they spec it?
I'm not aware of the preferred.
Is that the CPU temperature, or is that
Yeah,
some other
that is the CPU
thermocouple?
temperature of that CM5.
Yep.
Are there any questions about our testing right now?
Did you get to try that HAL-IO on that too?
The
Helio or whatever, the...
Oh, the
they have-
Helio.
Yeah, Helio, sorry. Because I know they're supposed to have the port for that.
Yeah, let me go back to that picture.
Sorry.
No, it's all good. Yeah, I believe there's that slot right there, kind of to the right of that silver chip for that. We don't actually have one.
Okay.
I think one of our mentors maybe has one that he could bring in. That'd be, we're hopefully
Those generated
just that.
they generated a ton of heat in those Limelight 4s or whatever, so I was just curious on what the performance was in these.
Yeah. We for sure want to try that out. There's a goal of being able to plug in a USB camera and have it act like a Limelight, because I mean it's made by Limelight, and having that simple vision. I mean you would have a higher load on your robot processor, but that's one of the projected ideas. Yeah.
So Helio, is that some sort of accelerated?
Yeah, that's the accelerator card for.
And it's supposed to be plugged in on top of the Rio, right? Or sorry, not the Rio.
Yeah, I think you can take off the cover. You put it on the inside.
It's like
on
an
the
M2
board.
slot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an extra plug-in you add on top, so you didn't have one of those.
PCI slot in there.
And then the other question is, you said you got significantly reduced loop times, and did you monitor CPU usage, and how do you monitor CPU usage on a quad core versus the Rios these days?
The performance tab itself has its own, I wish I got a screenshot now, but it has its own info on and diagnostics on like CPU percentage that it has itself, CAN utilization, and like your DIO, you can actually see actively what the value is without printing it out. Yeah.
So could you go back to the software setup slide for a minute?
Software setup. Here or
Wait,
which?
come back.
Keep going back. This one?
This one?
Yeah.
It's like, is that like software that's supplied by Limelight?
Yeah. As soon as you connect to your robot and it shows it's connected on your driver station, you can go to robot.local in your
it's
Chrome
like-
tab.
It's like a website?
Yeah.
How's the network set up for it?
It just
Set up the Wi-Fi and...
yeah. So that's in its own configuration tab. I think.
I think that's only available for FTC.
Yeah, it's meant to only be for FTC. I think you can use it.
Oh, so this
At
is still,
home
we're still,
practice. but you're still using Vivid hosting radios.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, because the antenna is meant for the smaller FTC fields.
Sure.
Yeah, so we have it disabled. Yeah,
Is this going to be required to use in 2027?
I
Yes.
believe so, yeah.
I think they were talking about disabling the Wi-Fi on the FRC images.
Yeah, that makes sense.
UAC comps, you won't even be able to turn it on.
Quickly, I'll go over some final thoughts and then we'll have more time for Q&A. So kind of overall, smaller form factor, got multiple CAN buses. We noticed that CAN termination quality matters. Kevin, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I was just talking about like, and these are thoughts on replacing the Wade-Muller connectors, so like the push connectors on like the rear arm, for example, with the Molex SL connectors. I personally like the Wade-Muller connectors. I think they hold wires way better than like dew-point connectors, whatever. And they're easier to crimp, great. In our experience at least, in crimping Molex connectors, they're really hard to do. Maybe it's the crimper that we use, but we just had a bad experience with it. So I was just talking about like the difference between Wade-Muller and then Molex. You could read more about my thoughts on it in the Chief Delphi thread that we have. But essentially, I want to keep the Wade-Muller connectors. Don't replace them.
Yeah, and then, I mean, we talked about those IO quirks with the pull-up, pull-down resistor. Should be resolved with the full release and make that configurable. And then just way faster processing, up to 6 times the speed. It's pretty great. All right, any other questions? Feel free. Could be
Anybody
about
that's interested, the GitHub page has in the issues, all that stuff that you just discussed is listed in there. So anybody that's curious to see
Yeah.
what else is wrong with those or problems you're running into, that
Yeah.
page is well documented.
If you're curious about this and want to learn more, go to the WPI Lib GitHub, and there's a SystemCore specific spot, and it's got a lot of info in there.
How did the code editor on the website work? Was it just like it quickly fixed some code that is already on the robot?
Yeah, it kind of creates like a workspace in a way, and you can kind of like load in multiple workspaces for different robots. We didn't use it very much. We prefer to just write our code and then deploy it. Yeah, does that answer some of your question? Okay. And if there's any questions about our programming in general, or I guess build captain's here too, you can ask her about our build, or just anything about SystemCore.
Just a general question, and I don't think they're changing it, but is there anything that will change with the drive station that's associated with this update?
So there's a Champs conference about the 2027 SystemCore software side. There's kind of a want for some of it, creating a custom driver station separate from NI. Kind of relating to those op modes I briefly went over. But there's nothing confirmed yet, and also NI has been getting involved again more with SystemCore. They added LabVIEW support, I think, and there's a chance we still use the same driver station.
Any more questions? It could be about like anything about the team too, if you're curious about KnightKrawler.
How did you guys like using this in general?
It was, well, we've liked using it so far. It's easy to set up, so that ease to get into it was simple. But like the CAN quirks and the pull up, pull down were kind of frustrating. So I mean, we're working to get rid of those so that other teams don't have to experience that when we swap over from the RIO to that. I mean, I appreciate the faster processing time. That's nice. We can a lot better ability to do a lot more things. Excited to push the limits of it more.
It's also like really tiny. Like we say it's small, but it's small. It's probably half the size of the RIO. So packaging and electronics is going to be way better with that. And for teams using the gyro, it would be easier to put in the middle of the robot because of the footprint. But from 6328 did some testing with the gyro. They found that it works, but it's not too great as you would expect. So,
No.
Yeah, relative to the pigeon, it's not quite as accurate as a couple of degrees of drift within the period of a match. It might be fixed by then. I think they're looking into that.
And you were using a pigeon with this?
Yes. Yes.
Do you know how expensive it is, or?
I'm not aware of the exact price, but I know there's been kind of like a ballpark, but try and keep it around the same price as a RoboRIO.
and they're providing in like the KOP where they're giving it to all teams in 2027.
Yes.
Yeah. So you'll have one for sure.
Came in late, so you might have already answered this. Have you guys done any testing with multiple different like swerve libraries and multiple different vision systems?
So since we just put it on our 2025 robot, our vision systems remain the same with Limelight. I talked about it a little bit where there's an idea to plug in USB cameras and run Limelight software. But I know you're not supposed to run Photon directly on it. You can run it on a coprocessor, of course. We moved away from Photon mid-season last year because we had some issues with powering it and wanted an easier programming implementation, so we switched to Limelights. What was the other part of your question?
Different
swerve libraries.
Specifically like the code library side of things.
Yeah, so we use the CTRE generated swerve libraries. So that's why we remained on the Canivore too, kind of just keeping that for a quick switch over to SystemCore from the RIO. I don't have much experience with using like Yagasol. Years before we wrote our own swerve code. We might try that, but we prefer just the ease of the odometry with CTRE and setup. Oh, it would be good to test those, yes.
Do you still have it in hand, and are you going to be continuing like any testing alongside this season?
Yeah, so we will keep running it. We still have it. I think we get to keep it, right? So,
I think so.
yeah, so I think we get to keep it for ever.
Sure.
We'll run it again at MMR on Mayfly, and after that we're going to keep running it on a swerve chassis, doing some of the things we talked about earlier, testing a little bit more, try out those new pull up, pull down boards that we got. That'll probably be one of the first things we do. So yeah, we'll keep going with this, and hopefully we'll get that Chief Delphi thread updated. We haven't posted in a little bit. But,
Yeah, if you go to Mini Trial, or Mini, come over and see it.
yeah, take a look. We'll be glad to show you. Probably touch it.
The display's cool. Wasn't there talk about like using the display to? People are trying to run Doom on it, I think. Sounds about right.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
I think somebody's got.
What is your favorite part of like the new like SystemCore?
My favorite part from the performance side is how fast it is, being able to run faster odometry, faster loop times, more complex sequences. On a physical side, I like the new can split it out and have less reliance on one can loop. So if you like lose a mechanism, you can take its side swipes or something. That doesn't mean your entire thing goes down without having to get like a Canivore. What do you like about it, kid?
The size.
Size.
Yeah, it's so small. It's so small. And yeah, the can's also nice. 5. It's 5, right?
Yeah.
we always get tripped up because it starts at 0. I'm not a programmer, so I can't count. Yeah, so the can's nice. Splitting it up. I think like if we had it last year, we would split up like the intake, the arms, etc. And trying to like maximize that ability.
Yeah, and those can loops, you have to terminate yourself, of course. I mean, what did we do? For the carnivore, we had our own resistor. What do other teams do for like terminating other than the PDP or PDH, or is that just what people use?
Resistor.
Resistor and a Wago.
Wago. Okay.
Do have you experienced those radio loops like snapping on you? We do.
Really?
We just ended up soldering it, so.
Shrink wrap it.
Yeah, we put ferrules on them and they're pretty solid.
Biggest problem is that there's fatigue on the resistor itself and it snaps.
Yeah, that was that same thing was the reason why we wanted to get rid of that weak pull-up resistor on our beam brake solution, because one of our mentors is like it's putting a lot of strain on it. Is that what it is? Yeah.
Ill fatigue and
Fatigue.
break. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know what the bus speed is on those cans?
People have been talking about getting CAN FD on it. I think it's just
Still real.
2.0 still.
Okay.
I know the hardware is capable of that, but I don't
Yeah.
know.
I think eventually they're gonna do kind of thing. Oh yeah, there's also like there's also little screw holes to lock in the USB ports. There's an image of it. There's only 3 of them though, and there's 4 USB. Yeah, you can see them right.
like those.
There's only
Yeah.
3 of them, and there's 4. So I think like the purpose of them is to make just one 3D print to lock all of them together. But I wish there was just a 4th one to do individual.
Which one does each screw tighten?
Well,
Did you try it?
It's like it's for like a mount, so you're supposed to make like a 3D printed.
Oh,
There are
okay,
some
okay.
like USB and USB-C cables that have lock screws attached to them. If you look at Redux, their Zincs have a cable you can buy that have the locking nut on them to go into something like that.
I don't
That's
know-
a standard.
I don't know if they're in like that configuration though. Aren't they usually at the top? I have to look at them, but
Yeah, usually they're directly above.
Standards.
Yeah, there's just a couple different standards. The ones I'm most familiar with, it's directly above the port that you're locking, but they might have a specific intent behind that.
Oh yeah, and then you can also see like the the Molex SL connector. So it's just a little bridge that you could get. I think Brev is starting to sell them, Thrifties, everywhere. You could get them everywhere. So. Yeah.
If I remember correctly, the locking USB stuff there, it isn't a standard, which was, I think, one of the first things mentioned when they first showed the picture of it. So.
So they just have 3 holes. 3 holes for 4.
The new one will just shift in so they're all directly above, because I think that is the standard they're supposed to use.
You said you had, sorry, you said you had some experience crimping with these SL connectors, and I did feel you did not enjoy that.
Yeah, we tried in 2022. Scott could probably talk more about it because he did a lot of them, but they're just so tiny. And then I don't know if we had a great crimper. I think we just got it Amazon.
Yeah, we have an Amazon crimper. The Molex, the problem is how small they are, and if you're older than 16, you might need glasses just to be able to see how small they are.
Yeah.
But when you're dealing with wires so small and you have to crimp it, and if you over crimp it too much, then it won't click into the Molex connector. Personally, I think it would be better off buying pre-built ends and then soldering the wires than trying to Molex crimp your pins and pop the pins into the housings. So I think you're better off in just about every case using a fabricated end and then soldering the wires if the solution is these click-in connectors.
Okay.
So I can expand a little bit more. The Firebirds, we use Molex SL for all of our CAN bus because it's a nice locking connector. And we had some issues with crimp quality, You can get usually in first choice the $350 official Molex crimper, and we have had almost no issues after using that and training the students on the correct length to strip wires and the process to do it. So go for that in first choice, or you can also directly reach out to the Molex representative and they might just send it to you for free.
They'll send you a starter kit.
Yeah.
It's like a $500 kit or something
Yeah.
like that. They'll send it to you for free for asking. So that will solve your SL crimp issues. That and a little training.
And then once you know how to do it, it's a much better connection than your standard DuPonts. They won't come apart because it's a locking connector.
Is that the one we're also putting heat shrink for mainly from those?
No, that's the Smart Max.
Yeah.
All right, I think we're out of time, so thank you. You guys are a great audience.
Thank you guys.
Okay, everybody, just for your information, next up is lunch and keynotes, so you should each have your